Hey guys, welcome back to the second video of my object detection tutorial series. Now in the first video what we did is we made a quick object detection program. Here's the file here. This is exactly what we made in the last video. And if we quickly run that one, just to remind ourselves of what it does, it opens, detects me as a person and says how confident it is, and that's basically it. Now if you haven't watched my last video and you've got no idea what's going on in this file here, I highly suggest you click the button up there and go give that one a watch, and then come back after you understand everything, because in today's video I'm not really going to be going over how this works exactly. All I'm going to be doing is showing you how to modify this file so you can have a camera that sends you Discord alerts on when it detects a person, like this right there. Not the best angle, but you get the gist of it. Now if you're still watching, I take it you know exactly what's going on, okay, and you're really keen to get some Discord notification sent out when you detect a person. So let's just get straight into it. So this is the file from the last tutorial. If you haven't got that downloaded, let's go to my GitHub, link will be in the description, download from the tutorial 1 files folder. But essentially we're just gonna modify this file a little bit and then everything will be up and running. So starting off, we do have to import two extra libraries. So the first one's going to be import time. Now we're importing this one because this is going to be used to help us have a delay between notifications being sent in the channel. That way we're not getting overwhelmed with messages every half a second. And then we're also going to install another module, alright? It's going to be from Discord_webhook. We're going to import Discord webhook. Now this is going to help us actually send the data from this Python file into our Discord channel. Now you guys probably have this part here squiggly underlined, okay? The way we fix this is just go down into your terminal, do pip install Discord_webhook. Let that one run, okay? Mine's already met because I have it downloaded, but you guys will go through all the download steps and finish that one up. And then secondly, since this is the file from the first tutorial back when we did Yolo11, we're actually been using Yolo11 now, and the way we're going to fix this is just by going Yolo11n.pt. Now if you're still using the same environment you were using back from the first tutorial, you're going to have an outdated Ultralytics, so that we're going to run a different command in the terminal as well. We're going to write pip install -u Ultralytics, and what's this going to do is it's going to check if you've got Ultralytics installed, and if you do, it's going to update it if an update is required. Otherwise, if it doesn't detect Ultralytics, it's just going to install it for you. So I've just run that, it's updated it for me, and now Yolo11 will work. It's very important you run that command, because if you have an outdated version, this won't work. It'll be stuck on Yolo10. Alright, so now that those two modules are out of the way, we can start moving on to actually making the code. So the first thing we're going to do is need a Discord webhook URL. So we're just going to simply set up a variable right now to store the URL. So we're going to go var to hold the Discord webhook. We're going to name it disk webhook equals. Now we're going to jump back over to Discord, okay? So we're in the server you've created, or maybe it's your friend's server that you got admin on. We're going to click the drop down arrow here. We're going to go to server settings. We're going to go into integrations. Now on your screen here, you have webhooks, channels followed. And now, if you've never done this before, you have 0 for everything. So we're just going to click on webhooks, and then it will prompt you to create your very first webhook, okay? But if you've already got some, it will ask you to make a new one. Now I've already got one set up, but just for the sake of the video, I'm going to create a new webhook here. The Captain Hook, you click on that one. Now you just copy the webhook URL. Now if you've got a structured server, or you want like a fancy name for the API, and you want to send it to a certain channel, you can do all of that stuff yourself in these two boxes here. But now that we've got the webhook copied, we're going to jump back over to VS Code, and our disk webhook is going to equal to that URL we just copied. Now it's important you don't share this with anyone you don't trust, okay? Because if you give it to random people on the internet, there's a high chance people are going to use it to send inappropriate content to your server, which obviously you don't want. This webhook's going to be deleted, so I don't care if you guys have that one. But now that we've got the webhook, we can start modifying the code down here in order to start sending notifications. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new variable. This is going to be called person detected, and it's going to equal false. This is what we're going to use in order to determine whether we're going to notify the channel or not. Okay, I'm going to explain a little bit more later why we use a variable and we don't just run the code when we detect a person. But that's done for now, okay? So person detected equals false. And now we're going to go down into our loop here for box in boxes. Alright, so what we're going to do in this loop now is we're going to make it so it only outlines and labels people when they're detected in the frame. So we're going to ignore objects for now, and the way we do this is if we get this line of code here, cut that one, paste it at the top, we're now going to run a check and essentially do if class name equals person, make sure it's in lowercase because it gets returned as lowercase. Then we're going to run the rest of this code. So what this will do is it goes over every single object, and only for the objects labeled as person, it's going to run the rest of the code. And then at the end of this if statement, we actually want to add person detected equals true. Now the reason why we're adding person detected equals true here rather than just notifying as we detect a person is because you'll end up in a scenario where if you have multiple people in a frame, it's going to detect the person, outline them, notify them. So that's just for one person, and then it's going to do it again for the second person. So the first person and the second person we outlined, and then do it for the third person, and so all three are outlined. And that way, if you have, like, for example, 3 people in a room, it's going to notify you 3 separate times for the same event. And obviously we don't want that. That will just overwhelm the channel and make it unreadable and make it a huge mess. So we're just going to do person detected equals true. So that way, if at least one person's in the frame, we're going to note. It's going to go over, then we'll go back over to the next object. If there's another person, it's going to outline them again. And this person detected equals true line doesn't even matter then. It does not matter at all then. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to go down here to where we're showing the frame. And so what we want to do here is we're going to set 3 more variables. So current time equals 0, previous time equals 0, then the time delay. This is going to represent the delay of which we want the notifications to be sent at. So for the sake of the video, I'm going to do 5 seconds, but if this is your own little like personal project, I highly recommend you probably 30, 60 seconds, doesn't matter too much. Just so we're not sitting here waiting ages, I've set it to 5. And so now we're going to do a quick check here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get the current time, and the way we do this is by using the time module we've imported back up here. I'm going to do time.time brackets. So we're going to check what the actual time is, and then we're going to do an if statement. If current time, then we're minusing the previous time from it. If this equals to something greater than the time delay we've set, so if, say for example, I sent this at 10 seconds, and then I previously sent it at 2 seconds, 10 minus 2 equals 8, which means 8 seconds has passed. And since that's longer than the delay we set, it knows to send another notification. And now what we're going to do, in order to send a file as a webhook on Discord, we need to have a physical file we can attach to this message and send. And the way we're going to do this is by first creating the path of the file. So the way we do this is image path equals, then we're just going to name it detected person.jpg. And what this is going to do, when we actually detect a human, we are going to save a file named this in the base directory of our folder. Now that we have the path for the file, we're going to write the actual image there. So we're going to do cv2.imWrite, and we're going to pass it the image path. So we're going to pass it. So this is also, the path of the image is also going to act as the name in this scenario, okay? We're going to pass it the path because that's what we want to call it. And then we're going to give it the actual content we want it to do. So we're going to pass it the frame. So the reason why we're calling frame down here is because we've gone through all the objects, we've outlined all the humans, and now we're going to save that frame to send as an update. And so we've now created the frame. So when this code runs, on the left side here, you can see detected person.jpg. It's going to create a new file. Now what we want to do is actually create the webhook to send. And the way we're going to do this is by going webhook equals Discord webhook. Then we're going to pass it the URL. So we define the URL back up here, if you remember, disk webhook. And then we're going to pass it the actual content. So this is going to be a little message. So person detected. So it's going to send a message saying person detected to our Discord channel using the Discord webhook we give it there. Now the way we attach a file to this is by doing with open bracket. We're going to pass it the image path. So we're telling it what file we're going to open, and then we're going to give it the mode to read it in. So R is read, B is binary, so read binary. This mode is really important if you are trying to read something that's not text. So if we're using an image like we are here, we need to make sure we're specifying binary, otherwise it's going to have trouble actually reading the file. And so we got with open B, we're going to do as F. So now we can call this just by typing the letter F. And what we're going to do now, we're going to call the webhook we've just created here, and we're going to call one of its methods, which is add_file. And then what we're going to do is give it the file we want to read. So file equals, then we're going to use F as if you remember up here, we've just we can call this with the letter F dot read. So we're reading the file we've opened, and then we're going to give it the file name. So file name equals, again, the image. So the path here acts as the name and the path of the file, okay? And so now that we've run that, this is going to essentially open the file we've created. It's going to read it, and then it's going to attach it to the Discord message. And now that we've got that going, all we're going to write now is webhook. So we're calling the webhook again, and then we're going to execute the webhook. So now if we run this Python file, what will happen every 5 seconds, if it detects someone that's a person, it's going to send let's go back here. It's going to send us a notification saying person detected. So if I run this file and open up the Discord, it's actually not going to work because I forgot something very, very small. We've actually got to specify here the URL equals the disk webhook, and then we've got to specify this is actually the content. The reason why is because it can take many arguments, and if we're not specifying what exactly these things are, that it doesn't know what to do with those arguments. So now, if we run it again, this time it should open and we should be notified. There we go. So now it's showing me up here, but it's really laggy. And if you notice here, it's spamming the hell out of my Discord channel. That's because I realized I've also missed another important step. Now I'm leading these into the video because this is pretty realistic on what will happen if you try code this by yourself. You're gonna make a ton of errors and you won't realize until you execute it. So what I've done here is, if you look here, we're checking the current time to the previous time, and we're making sure it is less than the time delay that we've set. But if you've noticed, we don't actually update the value of previous time. So what we're going to do here is go after the webhook.execute. We're going to do previous time equals current time. That way, now it actually updates the previous time and doesn't flood us because it's not always equal to 0. So now at the end of the loop, after it executes the webhook, it actually updates the previous time value, so it's no longer stuck at 0. It actually updates with the current time, and so we don't get absolutely spammed. And what I've also just realized as well here, if we look at the variables here, we're defining them in the while loop, and obviously if we're defining it in the while loop, it's going to constantly reset every time it goes over. So we're going to come back up to here, and we're going to paste them up there. So now what will happen is it will constantly loop over. It no longer resets the values of these things, and then it also updates the previous time variable. So the last thing we have to change is simply just come up to here to our if statement where we're checking for the time delay, and then we're going to add and person detected. So if you recall back up here in our box in boxes loop, we're setting person detected equals true if we actually find an object labeled person. So by calling this line here and person detected, we're now telling the program if it's been long enough and someone's also been detected, we go ahead with sending off the webhook. Otherwise, if there's no person in the frame, we completely skip this step here and we just go straight back to showing the frame. So if I go ahead and run the file now, it will detect me as a person, and then it'll send a photo every 5 seconds into the Discord. So if we quickly run this one up, there I am right there. But if I leave the frame and we wait 5 seconds now, it shouldn't send anything. There you go. Now when I pop back into the frame, it detects me and it sends. Now the weird blurry photos, obviously, but that doesn't matter. Who cares? We're detecting someone is there. Now the reason why it freezes when it sends a notification is because it interacts with Discord, right? So you have your code, you do all your stuff, and then we're sending a request to Discord in order to get the webhook working. And what we have to do once we send that request is actually wait for a response. So that moment of time where our frame is frozen and not updating is the time it's taking for Discord to actually respond to us. And so the way we work around this is by having the notifications running on a separate thread to the main thread. But because that's a little bit more advanced and requires more understanding of just how code works itself, I'm not going to include it in this video because I don't want to overwhelm you guys. All I want you guys to take away from this video is just how to turn the file we made in the first tutorial into your very own person detection program that alerts you on Discord every X amount of time whenever there's a person in the frame. Anyway guys, that's pretty much the end of the video here. If you have any suggestions on what you want to learn next, or maybe if you want to learn about how threading works, just let me know down in the comments below. If you enjoyed it, like, subscribe please, it really means a lot, and I'll see you in the next video guys.